What is up, everyone? Today I'll be showcasing a team I just kind of threw together with some Pokemon I planned on running during the Leo Regionals to get some practice with them. Not the most balanced team, but it ended up completely crushing. I don't think I went negative once with this squad. And I ran on stream too, and after that stream, other folks started running it as well. And they were doing great with it too, including someone that even got to Legend with the team. So it definitely works. The team is Shadow, VENUSAUR, Froslass, and Galarian Stunfisk, which is obviously extremely weak to fire. But luckily, fire isn't that common anymore. If you do face a fire, it's usually Talonflame, and there Froslass and Stunfisk do incredibly fine. If you were to face a Kanto Ninetales though, which I did do a couple times, you're usually gonna straight up lose. But it is what it is. You're only gonna face like 1 or 2 a day maximum. If those are your only like real hard losses, that's fine, right? Besides that, I found the team to have a lot of play versus everything, because VENUSAUR Stunfisk is an amazing core, and Froslass is a super good core breaker in the current meta. We're just gonna head into the battles. There's just one set I did on my stream, which ended up being a 5-0. I started off the set by leading into a Lickitung right here, which is a fine matchup for VENUSAUR. Just throw the Frenzy immediately, does a ton of damage first to Lickitung. I can easily take a Body Slam here. We get to the moves at the exact same pacing, at least the first 2 moves. The third move I actually get there 1 turn before them. It's just 1 less Vine Whip for my third Frenzy. I'm just going to throw this immediately. I'm expecting them to let it go. Probably not worth shooting for them now. And I think they have Nidoqueen. Yeah, there's a trainer I faced before, and another line is Nidoqueen's Crafty. So I was expecting them to bring in their Nidoqueen. So I bring in my Froslass, hoping they switch in their Crafty, because the better matchup versus Froslass than Nidoqueen. But they actually end up staying in, which is not great for me, because if they stay in now, their Crafty will be onto my Stunfisk, which obviously isn't too great. And they do end up staying in. They're going to throw another Poison Fang. But at this point, I am seeing a little bit of a win condition. If I just farm all the way down, I should be able to get 2 Avalanches off on the back Pokemon, which again, I'm expecting to be this Crafty. It's a team I've seen quite commonly as well up in the higher elos. Lickitung lead, Nidoqueen, and then either Crafty or Obstagoon, or even Swampert. Seems to be very common these days. But yeah, like I said, it is a Crafty, like I expected. I threw 1 Avalanche and then dipped out with the Avalanche. Since I win CMP against a Crafty anyway, there's no point in throwing it immediately. I might as well save it for later, seeing as I do win the CMP. And if I throw it immediately, they're actually going to get a free counter there. So that way, I don't allow them to get that free counter. Just a little bit of optimization you can do in your games as well. Don't throw when you don't have to. So yes, I got to another Rock Slide as well. Brought this thing very low. Now it's definitely an Avalanche Rage. We take it out, and that is a GG. Next match, we got another Lickitung lead. We're gonna play this out very, very similarly. Actually, I think this time I try to be a little more fancy and catch the Body Slams. Sometimes that is a fun play you can make. Like you can definitely play out this matchup a bunch of ways. Once they've taken this Frenzy, like Lickitung is not threatening at all anymore. So you can either set to stay in and throw your Frenzy, or catch the Body Slam like this. I think this is a bit of a risky play though, as not everyone will throw that Body Slam immediately knowing they lose CMP. But seeing as my opponent threw the first Body Slam on CMP as well, I wasn't expecting them to be that careful with charge move timing. Which makes me confident to try to catch that move. They switch in a Nidoqueen versus my Froslass, which is wild. Honestly, I recommend you to never shield versus Nidoqueens, because they're always gonna Poison Fang. So I shielded. I did shield, which is where I learned that. Yeah, I was expecting them to maybe go for Nerf Power, trying to be smart, be cheeky, and just get rid of my Froslass. But unfortunately, they baited me the Fang. So that's what I suggest you do. Never shield, because I've never had a Nidoqueen Earth Power on my Froslass. It's crazy. They only have Poison Fang. Anyway, I have a Swampert in the back. Very similar line to the Crafty line we saw before. This time, VENUSAUR just gonna clean up the Swampert though. Bye-bye, in comes Lickitung, they know the game is over now, GG's. Next game, we have a Lantern lead, and they bring in the Noctowl, which I respond to with my Froslass. It's 8 boon attacks for the Shadow Ball, so I throw exactly there, win the CMP. I'm pretty sure this barely takes out the Noctowl. I actually wasn't 100% sure. This actually might have barely survived. So I'm glad they shielded. I'm very glad they shielded. Otherwise, I might have had to use a shield there. But yeah, they shielded. That's fine. I'm just going to throw my next Avalanche a bit of on a safe timing, just to be sure they don't get off a Sky attack as well. Get rid of the Noctowl. In comes the Lantern now, which we can easily hit with a Shadow Ball here. I was really considering switching back into my Venusaur now, seeing as Lantern Noctowls often paired with their own Froslass, and then getting a little energy lead on my Venusaur would be nice. But I decided Venusaur is such a wall to Lantern, no need for fancy plays. I'm just gonna stay in, and it turned out to be the correct call, since they also had a Pidgeot in the back, which my Galarian Stunfisk just hard wall, so it just straight up rock, paper, scissors that line, GG's. Next up, we see a Medicham lead. Now, one important thing to note here. With Shadow Venusaur, you need 12 Vine Whips, plus a Frenzy Plant to knock out. So, what I like to do here is never throw my move before their Ice Punch. I always just throw 12 Vine Whips, then throw my Frenzy Plant. Now it's enough to knock out. No use in throwing before that. You should make sure you throw that second one immediately though, because otherwise you're going to get to another Ice Punch there. This time it actually caught their move on this Alola Ninetales, which definitely isn't too great, but it still did a ton of damage. So, nice catch, but I don't care. This is fine with me. It's a Powder Snow Ninetales though, so I couldn't stay in with my Venusaur right there. Instead I go into my Galarian Stunfisk. And I'm going to try to farm this down. These weather balls are adding up though, so it might become a little rough. And honestly, at this point, I'm thinking I might have made a mistake. Look at how low my G-Fisk is already. Very, very low. Still take the weather ball though. In comes Medicham right now, which I will hit with this Earthquake. This will do a ton of damage if they let it go, which they do. Now they have an Ice Punch, so I don't want to take that on Venusaur. I don't want to use a shield either, so I'm bringing my Froslass to take it. They did throw immediately, and in comes our Wigglytuff now. This was a Medicham double charm, which Venusaur just destroys. There's currently like a ton of teams around that just completely disrespect Venusaur, which makes it just shine in this current meta, I think. I even faced a Swampert double charm recently and a Diggersby double charm recently, and Venusaur just destroyed that, which was awesome. Next up, we have a pretty awful lead with the Shadow Dragonair. I have to instant switch into my Froslass, which will usually be your pivot in this line, though against certain leads, you might also want to consider switching in Galarian Stunfisk. Honestly, versus Altaria leads, that's usually what I'll recommend, because Galarian Stunfisk can usually take a shield, and then Froslass usually core breaks whatever's in the back after Altaria, and it can usually sweep with a shield up. So that'd be my recommendation versus Altaria leads. Versus Dragonair, I think Froslass is the way to go though. They bring in G-Fist, that's a fine matchup. I can grab a shield there. I could have grabbed another shield there by shielding this move, but then they would have farmed me down, which I didn't want to happen. Instead, I'm going to get a big farm on Venusaur, and I'm hoping to only use one shield there. I'm going to shield this up because an Earthquake would basically knock me out, and a Rock Slide also does a ton. They didn't Rock Slide me, which means they're going to get to another one, which I really didn't want to take, so I catch it on my Galarian Stunfisk here. It's a huge catch because that saves me a ton of health on Venusaur. They bring in their own Venusaur now. Very similar line, actually. We're both running Venusaur Stunfisk lead. Honestly, usually when you're running Venusaur, you gotta run Stunfisk too. It's just super solid core, so it makes sense. And they're running it with Dragonair in the lead, where I'm running it with Froslass in the back. Anyway, I don't really care about them no shielding a Rock Slide, since all I have to do is bring him into like Sludge Bomb range here, or into range where I can farm now with Venusaur. So they let go of my 2 Rock Slides, but that's super fine. They're in the red now. Just gonna let my Stunfisk go down. Sludge Bomb should do a ton of damage versus the Dragonair, and I have almost 2 loaded. So what I'm hoping for is I can hit at least 1 Sludge on the Dragonair and then farm it down. In comes the Dragonair. We're gonna go for the Sludge. Does this do enough? It does not, but we can Vine Whip it down just barely right as they get to the move. Probably it's 2 more Pokemon remaining though. Can Venusaur farm it down? Opposing Venusaur goes down, and now we're just gonna hit the Frenzies on the Stunfisk since I have 2 loaded anyway, but they're gonna let the first one go, right, since the game is over at that point. GG's. Nice 5-0 to get me back into the 3300s. Thank you all for watching. See you next one. Good luck with your battle trainers.